Today, my guest is Mike Shores from Woodhaus. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Jenny.
How are you doing today?
Doing good. Yourself?
Great. So tell us a little bit about Woodhaus.
So Woodhaus is an architectural millwork firm. We've been around for 23 years now, going on 23 years. We operate primarily out of DFW, but we'll go elsewhere if our clients ask us to. But yeah, we've got a great team here. We're close to about 150 in size. And we're considered one of the larger millwork firms in that $30 to $50 million range.
And what is your geographic coverage? Do you work mostly in the Texas geography?
Yeah, so primarily that Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We'll go down to Austin a little bit. We'll go up into Oklahoma, but we don't really branch too far out unless one of our clients asks us to. You know, if they've got a job, they just got to have us on.
And is the focus commercial versus residential?
Yep, so the focus is strictly commercial. We don't do any residential work at all. So the Dallas market does a pretty good job at just keeping us busy with that.
So how did you get involved in the millwork and custom carpentry industry?
Yeah, definitely. So I got my start in millwork specifically as a residential kitchen designer. So starting out just doing catalog work from a program called 2020 Design. Very simple. A lot of the knowledge I learned from that was actually working with custom home builders. They would kind of teach me, what a filler was, what all the terminology was. And then that just transitioned to, I moved back home to California and got into the trade show and exhibit millwork space a little bit. So still had that drafting background, did that for a little bit. And when COVID hit and the trade show and exhibit and event industry kind of took a dive, it was around the time when I decided to come to Texas, which is when I dipped my toes into the commercial construction, commercial architectural millwork world. So about a 10-year journey there.
Wow. So it's an interesting industry where it's a very artistic and individual craftsman that you're working with, but then you have to overlay that on projects and schedules and delivery for customers.
Yeah, definitely. That's where millworkers are in a unique space compared to the other trades you'll see on the job site, where for the most part with these compacting schedules, you can just order a bunch of sheetrock and a bunch of studs, and you can get a labor force out there and be able to get the job done. For us, as the manufacturer and the installer, a lot of what we do is based off of verified field dimensions. So we have to approach it a little bit differently. There's a lot more planning that goes into place. Not that the other trades don't plan, especially an MEP contractor where they have BIM coordination up front, but there is a little bit more or a little bit less wiggle room in that schedule for us. And then part of what we're doing is figuring out, okay, if we need to do more of this planning on the front end, how do we get involved in the design build concept up front so that the general contractor and the design team understand what that is, what our capabilities are, so that they can utilize us as a tool in their schedule creation.
And your role with Woodhaus is Director of Operations, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So what does a typical day in your life look like as Director of Ops?
A little bit of everything lately, just whatever our overall goal at the time is. Currently, we are in the process of an ERP implementation, as well as an office expansion and kind of a shop layout reconfiguration. Kind of throwing that all in at once, the ERP solution obviously touching everybody in that, where we were looking for a solution that just kind of handled every aspect of our business instead of operating within all of these different systems. We were utilizing PlanGrid, Monday.com. We used Connect Team as an app for our field to clock in. Implementing this Energy ERP solution is what it's called. We are able to do away with all those different programs and really just have Energy and then our accounting software.
That's great. Were you involved in the process to select the ERP software?
Yes, yeah. So it was, the process was, so when I first came on board with Woodhaus, I was at a company that was in the beginning stages of implementing Energy. And it was, in my opinion, there were some things that just weren't quite tuned in yet. One of the things I like about Energy is their philosophy towards continual improvement. So coming into Woodhaus, where again, old systems such as Excel, a lot of just paperwork-driven tasks were followed. We knew that jumping headfirst into Energy was not going to be the right answer. to get the team on board. So to take a baby step towards that, we went with Monday.com, that platform I don't know if you're familiar with, just to kind of automate and make some of the Excel features and paper features smart and communicate with each other. Knowing that one day we were going to plug energy into that, we were able to just now in the implementation process, we built out Monday to mimic energy. So a lot of our data points are the same and they just connect through. So it's been a real streamlined implementation process for them.
Oh, that's great. And what does the timeline look like? Where are you in the implementation phase at this point?
So we're about 50% through with our milestones in the implementation process. We have, Energy likes to say it's about a 6+ month process. Companies typically don't do it in less time than that. I kind of tasked the team with a very aggressive timeline of 3 months. And so they're doing great. It's a lot of SOPs that aren't fully developed to where just on the fly we're making up, what it is that we're doing. But at the end of the day, we've hired some great people that know how to get their job done and aren't allowing things to slip through the cracks. So even though we might have lost some data in the transfer, we're quick on our feet, able to fix that.
How is the team responding? And it sounds like you've had kind of a crawl, walk, run approach starting Monday, but how is the team adjusting to kind of this new automation environment?
I would say overall. There's, I think the key to it is small wins. Right. And we've had some small wins right off the bat where, again, like I said, we were operating in 5 different systems, and to bring that down into the one, we're already seeing less clicks, right? And if your job is clicking and typing all day and you can cut that in half, you're gonna make some people happy.
That's great. That's great. So do you think being on this platform will help the company scale and grow?
Definitely. Yeah. I don't think any company can do without it, right? I think it's a Simon Sinek quote, and I'm butchering it, but basically, don't implement technology just for technology's sake. But when the company gets to a point where technology is necessary, then, it's time. I tell one of our shop managers, we work with our hands in this industry, not a lot of computer workers, and to learn a new tool like this, to learn how to go to a downloads folder to bring something in, to just store data, it's a challenge. But to relate it to learning a tool like a router or a table saw, we've got to be able to keep up with the times. We've got to be able to grow and take that next step. And this is what enables us to do that.
How much of the job and implementation is the technology versus kind of the cultural and the people side from your perspective?
For us, it comes down to the technology part of it. The people and the culture, again, we have a great team. Woodhaus's core values are family, faith, integrity, and fun. That integrity and that faith really drive into that, right? Where we all know that we're here to serve a bigger purpose, whatever that might be. And then we're all keeping our integrity to, just get the job done. And we're all here to help each other. I think having that strong culture at the core is really just, we know what the vision is. We know what the end goal in mind. And the end goal in mind is we want to positively impact not only the lives of our employees and our team here, but the lives of our clients and everyone we have interactions with in the community. So, not being a headache for someone, getting to be the easy button for our customers helps us towards that.
That's great. It's a wonderful perspective. It sounds like a really a beautiful place to work in terms of the way people feel about their job and their team.
Yeah, we have a strong ownership group, and we've got a great leadership team of department managers leading every department, and they really care and advocate for their people. Happy to be a part of it.
I know during the pandemic, there was the whole work from home thing, and we hear a lot about return to work, return to the office. Are you seeing that in the Dallas area as well? There were a lot of companies that decided to keep a lot of the employees virtual, and they were getting rid of office space, but you're working on commercial venues. So what are you seeing in terms of the culture of return to work and coming back to the traditional office-based businesses?
Yeah. Ear to the ground, I hear that, a lot of companies are coming back, returning to the office. What I'm seeing is more of a hybrid approach. So during COVID, obviously there was a freeze on a lot of the tenant interior work, but that picked up very quickly when offices quickly pivoted from the open office space back to like a more cubicle farm or individual office style. So a lot of work actually came out of that. We've done many projects for large firms, multi-story office spaces, and that's what I'm getting at with the hybrid portion of it. There's a lot of offices here in town where they're having their people come in, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or they'll have an A group and a B group. Woodhaus, as we stand in that, we are a fully in office, in shop, in field company. We did recently look at branching out for our engineering department. We utilize a program called Microvellum, and there's just not many Microvellum drafters out there. And so, especially in the DFW market, where we're one of the larger companies, I would say we have the majority of Microvellum drafters in DFW. So we did recently reach out and put out for just remote work nationally. And we got a lot of good feedback from that, but we also found a lot of people that just wanted to freelance, and we're all about being Team Woodhaus. So still working through that.
So is the acquisition of talent one of the things that will impact the company's ability to grow going forward?
I think that's any company, yeah. But we are a promote from within company. We have a lot of tribal knowledge, and I think yes, it's a threat, but what we've done to protect us from that is to be intentional about trading, right? So as we have an older workforce, as that older workforce retires, we make sure we work off like an apprenticeship program almost in the shop, right? So our craftsmen are working with someone coming up through the trades. Even in our office, we'll have older draftsmen who have experience not only building, but have, they tend to draw our more custom stuff, like this TCU music hall that you see in the background behind me. That takes a certain kind of individual to not only build, but also draw it. So we pair those people up.
So, Mike, when I think about the future of work and where the jobs are going to be, and we all hear so much about AI and the advancement of technology, what do you think is an important thing for people coming up, in their school careers, from high school and then maybe graduating? What are some of the jobs that you think are going to be critical in the future?
I think really any of the jobs in construction or healthcare are critical to the world and just to everyday life. We do a lot of work with different foundations through either TEXO or CIEF, where we advocate for the trades to choose that as a career path. And sadly, we don't see a lot of return from it in terms of kids joining the workforce. What I would say is just the same advice I give to my own nieces and nephews is you just got to work. You just got to start somewhere. You're not going to be the office guy or girl day one. You've got to go in there. You got to start as an apprentice. You got to work your way up. You got to push a broom. And you know what? You could either work at a fast food restaurant, or you could work out on a job site. I think working out on a job site's a lot more fun. You get a lot more life experience. Again, you may not know if you want to be a sheetrocker, or a framer, a millwork, or whatever, but you get on that job site and you're working alongside them. And you might start as an electrician, but you see what the plumber's doing. And so, you go and you get a job with the plumber, and then that 20 years later, you're a master plumber, and that's the career you took care of your family with. So I think that would be my advice to kids. Just go start. Just get out there. Not everyone's got to have a tech job. We still need people to build the data centers.
Learn by doing.
Yeah, definitely. Learn by doing. Just start. Right. It doesn't even have to be what you end up doing. Just start.
That's great.
Cool.
That is a beautiful scene behind you. That's great.
Thank
and
you.
Your website is gorgeous. People should go out and look at some of the projects on your website, and it really showcases some of the work that you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. The team does a great job.
Yeah, that's great. Any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share on your personal journey from being the craftsman to walking into management and director of operations and now implementing technology? Any kind of thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
One thing that comes to mind is you don't have to own the business to work like you own the business. There's something to be said about, I think society popularizes entrepreneurism, but there's something to be said about intrapreneurism. And our president, our leader, Fisher, really gives people great opportunities. And he gave me a great opportunity to step into this leadership role. And again, I'll always work. And I think any person should always work as if it's their own. I think work ethic gets you places, right? Work ethic is what keeps you places and what keeps you growing and doing more. And I hope that that's not lost with our generation, that you've got to do the nights, you got to do the weekends. It's not all just about 40 hours, right? You got to, even if you don't have equity in the thing, you got to have some sweat equity in it, because it's something you can have pride in. And I don't know the best way to put that, the most politically correct way to put that, but just work hard, get the job done, get results.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, Mike, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about Woodhaus and your own personal journey. I think it's been a really interesting conversation. And I wish you all the best success with the implementation of your ERP, as well as the growth of the company.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.